This is the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Do you have questions about an upcoming exterior contracting project? We've got answers. Welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, welcome to the You Ask, the Pros Answer podcast. Your questions answered by the pros you trust. My name is Cole. I'm one of the hosts on the show. Normally, I would be joined by Aaron, but today is extra special. We have with us Brad Wozlovec. He is one of the exterior specialists at Pro Exteriors. You may recognize him from 2 prior episodes, but we thought that Brad would be the perfect person to answer today's question. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Brad Wozlovec. All right. Hey, Brad. It's good to have you back on the show. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. As you and I talked off camera, I am ready for spring weather. My studio here faces a window, and all I can see outside is white. We're getting some snow here today in northern Kentucky. Yeah, I don't know if we're sending it your way or not.
It's I checked this morning. It said something around 7 p.m. we might get some, but that changed just since yesterday. It was supposed to snow most of the afternoon, so it's shifting a lot.
Yeah, I think we get whatever weather you guys get a day, maybe half a day ahead of time, depending on how fast it's moving. Anyway, really exciting content here, folks, today on the US The Pros Answer podcast. So, Brad, you know this, but our audience may not. The reason that I invited you here today is because the question that we're going to tackle, I'm not sure that there's anyone else that knows the answer to this question better than you. Each week we try to tackle a question that is related to exterior home remodeling or something in the home remodeling space. And today's really no different. We want to answer the question, what can you expect during a home inspection or a sales call? And so you, as an exterior specialist with Pro Exteriors focused on sales, I thought you could just walk us through what a homeowner could expect. But let's start here. How does the process typically begin? So before you even get the file for an appointment, what's the process look like? So I'm thinking about like the customer reaching out to us. So what are
the first
ways?
touch?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So from what I understand, I'm not super involved in that because it's, like, again, before it gets to me. It's been a lot of internet leads. So less and less people are actually calling our phone number, and more they're submitting an online request, just because that's the society we live in. But our call center, there's one of 3 women that do this, will reach back out and they will ask, very specific pointed questions. And it's more information based. So, name, address, phone number, things like that, so we can get a hold of you. And then obviously what's going on. So we provide multiple things, multiple services. Do you need a roof replacement? Do you need siding replacement? Do you have a repair? Lately with all the weather we've been getting, it's been a lot of roof repairs and snow and ice calls, things like that. So one thing I do like to point out is we are full service. I know there's a lot of so-called competitors that we have in the area that they only want to touch full replacements. We're not that. We're a company that we're very community oriented. So we'll do. I like to say we'll do what needs fixing. So we don't go out there with an agenda. We don't go out there saying this is what's going to happen. I go out there and I listen. And then if you have a problem that needs fixing, I'll tell you, yeah, we can do that. Here's how much it costs.
Tabby, our customer service representative, let's say she responds to a customer's online form that they've submitted. How do you then get that communication when you're assigned to a job?
We're a little old school still, and I know Aaron's going to see this, so I'll tease him a little bit, but we still use manila folders, which it's good to have by all means, because I'll have it literally right in front of me, so I know what I'm looking at, and things don't get lost, which is nice. So she'll literally hand me the manila folder. It's going to have all the basic details she just took. It's going to have a little blurb, a sentence or 2 about what's going on with the house, what needs to be done, and then I know, let's say we're a week out. So I know what day I have to be there, what time I have to be there. And then I basically just plan for that. So they're real good. Tabby and Kara and sometimes Tiffany, they're real good with making sure we're in the same area geographically. So one of the things I love, and one of the things is just a salesperson, a specialist, on the road person, that always used to bug me is like, if you get set and you're an hour and a half in between, to me, that's wasted time. Because it's all it is just me driving on the road when I could be doing more effective things. So to have them kind of be keyed into that and say, hey, you know what, we're in Salisbury at 9. Let's not give them a Dover at 1. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yep.
they're pretty well dialed in, which is nice. And I think that really shows attention to detail and really good forethought for when they're setting things up. But yeah, so I get the folder. I look it over generally. Sometimes I will reach out to the homeowner right there. Typically, they just talk to us. I don't need to. But then when it comes the time for the day of the appointment, I'll call on my way. Sometimes if it's early in the morning, 9 o'clock, I don't typically call too early because I know a lot of people don't want to get woken up that early. But if I'm like 15, 20 minutes out, I'll give a call and I'll say, hey, this is Brad from Pro Exteriors. Just let me know I'm on my way and I'll be right on time. What I've found, and this is going to sound a little silly, but when you don't do that, people are surprised, even if they just booked the appointment the day before. A lot of people have pets. Maybe they want to put the pets up. Maybe they want to let them out real quick because they know they're going to be a minute with me. So they let them out, do what they need to, and then put the dogs away, kind of thing. I've had several people that are like, "Oh, I just got out of the shower. Thanks for calling." So it's like you give them time to sort of prepare themselves. They can get dressed. They can straighten up if they want, whatever they want to do. It's just always a nice convenience and a nice courtesy to give them a heads up.
Yeah, and I would imagine it also. I'm sure you've shown up to houses and somebody forgot, and that just that can ruin your day too. So it's a two-way kind of a confirmation. Like, okay, they're there, they know I'm coming. All right.
Another thing too that I found, not to jump in there, sorry. So when Tabby or Kara sets the appointment, emails go out, and it literally tells you my name. And this is something a little more new, which is why I didn't really think of it right away. Email goes out to tell you my name, tell you the date and the time of the appointment. So when I'm calling and I'm saying, hey, this is Brad from Pro Exteriors, they already know my name. It was already in the email. So it's just a confirmation that it's not just some fly-by-night company. It's actually, we're very well dialed in. We're a very professional company.
Yeah. All right. So you pull up to the homeowner's house. What's the first thing you do?
Typically I get out of the van, make sure that I'm straight, it's literally kind of brush myself off, make sure the shirt's tucked in, that sort of thing. And then I take a picture of the front of the house. We use that a couple different things. Number one, we like to have a nice picture of the house, literally to put on like proposals, and it's a nice cover piece. It's going to sound a little silly, but it also gives it to when we come to do the install, the crew knows they're at the right place. We've all seen communities where the houses tend to look the same. So having something where they see the actual house, it makes a big difference. And then we also use it sort of like a time clock. So everything's time stamped. They know that I'm there at that time. Then I take a picture of the address, same reason, make sure we're at the right house. But yeah, so I knock on the door. Then they come, they introduce themselves, and I typically stand back. Again, just a personal thing I've learned over the years. I don't want to be in someone's personal space right away before they feel comfortable. So I'll take a few steps back, and that way they can see me. I'm in bright orange. I mean, it's hard to miss. We look very intentional, for lack of a better word. I even wear bright orange shoes, which is something I picked up from Aaron, which I make jokes about all the time because people always ask, "Oh, do they do that for you, or you do that yourself?" And I fought against it a little bit, but I'll tell you, it's fun. It's a good conversation piece.
You've told me, I think, that when you find a pair of orange shoes that you like, you'll buy a couple pairs at a time.
Yes, it's so I'm on my second pair now, but I bought the second pair when the first ones were maybe 6 months old because it's not easy to find a pair of bright orange shoes. So if you try to find them when you need them, you may not have an easy time getting them. So yeah, ones I'm wearing right now sat in the closet for about 6-7 months before I needed them. Which it's probably another 3-4 months I'll be looking for a new pair just in case. But yeah, I love it. People always comment on it. They're always saying like you look very professional, and it's kind of a joke. But this hat, I don't wear this hat typically. This is the hat that when I want to look nice. So the other hat that I usually wear is very faded. And I love it because it fits really nice. It fits right on my head. But it's one of those things where I don't mind wearing that in front of people because it looks like, yeah, I work hard. So it sends a little bit of a message, but again, I want to look nice on the podcast. So I put a new hat on, but, the uniform really speaks a lot. And I think since Aaron made the switch to the bright orange shirts, it's very identifying. People will know who we are. We don't get confused for other companies anymore, which is kind of cool. So it just looks nice. It's a good appearance. I always try and look like I'm professional and not just some guy that rolled out of bed. Go up there, say hello, you tell them who I am, and then I like to jump right in. I like to just say, hey, so tell me what's going on today. Things that I've found in the past is that when a customer, a homeowner, however you want to put that, when they're waiting on me, they have a dialogue in their head. I have to tell him these things so I don't forget these things. So when I come up and I say, tell me what's going on, they get the opportunity to tell me every little thing that's going on. And I can key in on certain things like, how long it's been happening, what kind of damage it's done, how much it's inconvenienced their life. I can say, okay, those are important. So let me hold on to those. And then I say, okay, let's go right to the problem. Let's take a look. Because that's honestly, it's what people most of the time are expecting. They want me to dive right in.
Sure.
So I try to get right after it. And then, typically go through the entire inspection process. They don't have to be there the whole time. But I like, if it's a roof, for instance, and it's a roof leak, especially, I want to see where the leak happened, how long it's been going on, so that I can have a general sort of gauge for how inconvenient it's been in their life.
Yeah.
And then I get in the attic. A lot of people are not expecting that. So the best thing I can say is when we want to get in the attic, we're not doing it just to have fun. Nobody likes walking around inside an attic. The reason I like to get in the attic is because I can see the underside of the plywood. So it's a big deal if I can go in with as much information as I can. And another thing too that you may not think about is when a leak generally happens, it's going to leak, it's going to dry, because we don't get rain every single day of the year.
Right.
So it's going to dry, and then if it leaks again, it's going to leave another stain, and that's going to dry. And you're going to end up seeing different color variations, so I can get an idea for how long it's really been going on. See the insulation from the backside, where you're not going to get in your attic and look at that. But if the insulation is totally ruined up there, you can say, look, this has been going on a long time. And it kind of paints a better picture, because maybe that customer's only seen that this past weekend. Well, it just now started showing up, and it's been leaking probably 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
The plywood thing's a big deal, because if I can see how bad the plywood is and I can see the edges of the plywood, I know how much we're really going to need to replace. Instead of just guessing at it and hoping that the crew is, prepared enough. Really, I want to, the entire process we do is to set every single person that touches it, set them up for success, including the homeowner. We want to make sure that they're not surprised by anything outlandish. So if I can go in and I can tell they need 2-3 pieces of plywood, I'll say, look, typically I put 2-3 pieces of plywood on anyway. 1, 2, 3, you can tell you're actually going to need these 3 pieces. So it really benefits you.
If you've gone in the attic, what are you typically doing next?
So after I get out of the attic, and while I'm in there, just real brief, I'll measure the framing, the type of plywood, things like that, spacing. Then when I come out, what I like to do is get my ground shots, like from the ground, the pictures, before I even get on the roof. So I usually tell them, hey, can I get all the way around your house, 360 degrees? And that's generally when they'll say something like, yes, but I have dogs, so be careful, or the gate's on this side. They'll give me a little bit more direction. And I explained to them, I said, I'm going to do this just for general ease of access. That's mostly what it's for. And the reason I bring this up is because there's a lot of people out there that, especially for repair work, they want you to just go right to and just focus on that. I'm saying this to let anyone that's listening know, when I take a lot of photos or get a lot of information, it's not meant to be like, what can I add to the project? It's just informational. So when like you go to the doctor and the doctor is not asking you questions like, how long has this been going on, or when did it start, to add to your bill? They're just trying to gain a history. Yep. So it's very similar to what we do. So I go around, take all my photos from the ground, gives me good ease of access. The iPhones that we use, we can zoom in, zoom out. So it gives us a really nice idea for what we can do. To kind of flash forward to when we actually get to work and the guys are coming out to do the work, the actual install, it lets them know where they can put equipment, where they need to put tarps, any vegetation, landscaping needs to be covered, things like that. So I do that, and then I usually put the ladder up. I try to go to the back, just in case it scratches the gutter. We really try hard not to. It's a lot less noticeable in the back typically.
Yep.
So just kind of putting like the best foot forward, trying to make sure that people understand we're there to protect your home, not just slap something up and do it. So I try to go to the back if I can. If I can't, then hop on the front. Depending on how steep it is, I put boots on that they're actually designed to walk on asphalt shingles, so it makes it a little more secure for me. And then I climb right up, get up on the eave, go right to the gutter usually, and then I'll lift the first shingle up. Take a look to see if there's rot there, if they have drip edge, how the gutters are attached. A lot of little different informational things that don't necessarily need to be seen, but they help. If we don't get them, we might miss them here and there. So one of those things, I'd rather do it and not need it than need it and not have done it. So then I climb up on the roof. I typically go all the way up to the top, and I'll do a circle, taking pictures the whole way. That stems from back when we did a lot of insurance work. So it was more of a CYA thing. We want to make sure that any damage that's done, we took pictures immediately, again, time stamped, so that we can never be accused of causing that damage. So it's just kind of one of those things that spilled over, but also it's a good overview. I can take a picture from the top all the way around. And then as I'm doing it, I can see, oh, I see a missing one there. Oh, I see a missing one there. And I kind of know where to go. And then I just basically start looking at the shingles. Your quality. We measure them to see what size they are. Try to find out what brand they are pretty quick. Brand and color. The measurements will tell us basically how old they are. About 12, 13 years ago, the measurements changed on pretty much every brand out there. So that kind of helps us know as well. And then I start looking at the actual damage if there is any. If we're doing straight replacement, I'll just start measuring things. We typically do digital measurements ahead of time, so I have a lot of that already. But I like to be exact on things like your chimney, your skylights, your pipe boots. Pipe boots are not going to show up on a digital measurement. So whether it's 1.5 inch, 2 inch, or 3 inch, I measure those, take pictures of those. And again, to set the crew, set them up for success, different pipe boots sizes are different pipe boots that you have to order. So you don't just order one generic pipe and it fits all pipes,
Gotcha.
or one generic boot and it fits all pipes. So you want to make sure they have the right equipment, because there's the joke I always make is there's nothing worse than being on site and having one $20 piece of equipment that you have to go run an hour to get.
Yeah, that holds the whole thing up.
It holds everything up. It's just an absolute headache. So what I like to do is try and set everyone up as best I can. And then also while I'm up there, I'm looking for things that maybe the homeowner doesn't know. How often does somebody really look at their roof? Never.
Yep.
Let's be honest. You might get the once a year they climb up to put the Christmas lights up or something like that. But the reality of it is, if I'm up there and I see really bad moss growth or missing shingles or the granules on the shingles, typically they start to fall off when you get older shingles. And people could say, like, oh, I don't have any leaks. I don't have any missing shingles, so my roof's good. Well, if I can show them that 50 to 60+% of their granules are gone, your roof's toast. So a lot of people, they like seeing that. And I know me as a homeowner myself, when I have more information, I can make a more informed decision.
Yep.
Which is what I like to really provide what I can. I'm not going to, feed you with a fire hose. Sometimes I do, and I do apologize when that happens. But I try and, show you things that you need to know as a homeowner, things that you probably wouldn't ordinarily have known. So that's what I do from there. Then I get down, it's summertime, usually wipe my forehead off because I'm usually sweating pretty bad. Try and get myself cleaned up a little bit. And then I basically go in and tell them what I saw, and then we build a proposal for whatever needs to happen.
How much of the proposal is done there on your first visit, or does it depend on the job?
Depends on the job. So yeah, I'm glad you said that. So if we're doing roof replacement and it's strictly just replacement, there's a very high probability I can do it all in one shot. We can do it all while I'm there. One of the biggest advantages to us being a master elite, for me anyway, and there's plenty of advantages for the company and the customer afterwards, is that we have access to digital measurements that are very accurate. We can get them relatively inexpensive, so we just order them ahead of time. So when I show up, I don't have to typically, and there is a little bit of an asterisk on it because sometimes houses literally have too many trees growing over them and the satellite can't see them. Happens on occasion, not a ton, but it does happen. So when I go out there, typically I have my measurements already. And I can spend 15, 20 minutes in the van, typing everything up very accurately for your home. It's not a generic measurement. We don't go, per square foot. It's this much per square foot, nothing like that. So you get a really dialed in price, which I think a lot of people appreciate. So when I'm there and I can do it all on site, that's what I do. If you have something that maybe I couldn't get the measurements or I had to do them while I was there because you had too many trees, things like that, they do tend to add a little bit of time. But what I typically do when that happens is I will say, look, I'm going to take a few days to get these in because it does take some time. And then can I come back out? And I leave it up to the homeowner. I would prefer to come back out and talk in person because I'm a very in-person type of person.
Yeah.
But if they want to do it and just email and talk on the phone, that's fine too. I know what kind of age we live in. People are trying to work. They're trying to live their lives. I'm okay with that. But I've always felt that these types of situations are better dealt with in person. It's people like to deal with people they trust and they know. And so you're not ever going to get to know me unless we literally sit down and we talk about ourselves. And, you really get a good feel out of somebody with a face-to-face. So that's typically what I like to do.
Yeah, and that I don't want to sound like an old curmudgeon, but so much of what we do these days, even with major corporations, is chatting with an online bot that
Yeah,
either is not a real human or is thousands of miles away or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of nice that there's that human touch still. And a big part of what you're doing is educating, right?
yeah,
You're building trust, you're building rapport, you're educating the homeowner. Anytime we have work done inside or outside our house, it's this somebody's invading our personal space, and you don't want to hire
absolutely.
somebody that you don't feel comfortable doing that work.
Yeah. One
Um,
one thing I've noticed in that vein, um, when you have someone come to your house, it is very invasive. It's very intrusive. So you do want to trust them. You almost never hear good stories about that because people are just they're human. They're prone to talk about the bad experiences.
yep,
So I mean, think about the flip side of not feeling comfortable with somebody. I want you to feel comfortable with me. I want you to be at ease with me because it's going to make your process smoother. But if you choose someone you're not comfortable with, it's going to be 10, 100 times worse. Do you know what I mean? It's so you want that level of comfort there. And that's why I like to do face to face and make you know that, look, I'm a genuine person. If you need me, you can get me. If you have any questions at all, good, bad, otherwise, doesn't matter. I'm here for you. And it's you can't get that like you said with a chat bot or a an online texting type thing. So
yeah.
yeah, and you don't sound like a curmudgeon. You don't have as much gray in your beard as I do, so you'll be all right.
You mentioned that you're a homeowner yourself. I would imagine, as a guy who focuses on sales, you would prefer that the homeowner just goes with pro exteriors.
Yeah,
But as a homeowner, do you recommend people get a couple of estimates, or do you do you go with your gut? What do
I
you
mean,
say about that?
I would say trust yourself. It's not. I'm not going to tell you not to get other estimates. I don't think that's a bad thing. The one thing I would caution is the other estimates you do get. Make sure to use a sports analogy. Make sure you're not getting us, who are the literal pros in our name, but we're the pro level estimate. Don't get us, and then some guy working out of his garage. It's you're not gonna mesh that together, and they're never gonna be the same level of service, product, any of that. So one thing I do see every once in a while, luckily it's gone down, it seems like, is that when people are trying to compare me to somebody that, he's a one man band, and nothing wrong with that. Those people have their place, and let's be honest, 20 years ago that was Aaron. Everybody starts there,
Yeah,
but don't bring that out and think that you're getting the same level of service and the thought of it's all the same. It's not. And we kind of just went over it a minute ago with having someone you're comfortable with and someone that knows what they're doing in your home in a very invasive manner. You're not going to want someone that doesn't really know what they're doing. I mean, it's the end result's not going to match what you're looking for, I should say. A lot of people like to say apples to apples. So one thing I do caution is we're a master elite builder through GAF roofing. If you are getting other bids, get another master elite. Um, they are very choosy as to who they let become a master elite. GAF is. So that they're licensed, they're knowledgeable, continuing education, which a lot of people wouldn't think you need in the roofing industry, but we absolutely do. Products are constantly shifting, methods are shifting. We have to stay up to date. So if you choose someone that's a master elite, us, to give you a bid, go with someone else that's also a master elite, because at least at that point you're getting as close as you possibly can to the old apples to apples bid. And at that point, it becomes less about the materials, less about the end result, the warranty, because that's pretty much all going to be the same. It becomes more about who you're comfortable with and the company that you feel better with. All buying decisions are generally boiled down to emotion. People don't generally buy on logic. Some do, but not usually. Usually, people buy from the people they like.
yeah,
So if all the materials, all the warranties and everything of the end result is going to be relatively close to the same, you are left with a decision of who do I feel the most comfortable with, and that's how it should be. That's how you're gonna at the end of the day, when everything's said and done, that's how you're gonna know you made the right decision.
yeah,
Very few second guessing happens when you're like, I made the right decision that I felt comfortable with. You don't generally second guess that because you've done all your research at that point. At least I would hope not. But yeah, I mean, getting a few bids isn't bad. There's a limit to it. I've seen some people that get 8, 9, 10 bids. You're going to drive yourself crazy. Don't do that. 3, 4, nothing wrong with that. And like I said, just make sure they're all kind of on the same level.
yeah. To that point, though, I feel like it can even be difficult to figure out if a estimate or if two estimates are comparable to one another. I've seen examples of our estimates that you or Keith or Aaron put together. What's the average length of a proposal for, let's say, for a roofing project, page
Um,
count wise?
9, 10, 11, something like that. Yeah. And it's, I mean, let's be honest, you're going to look at them. There's a couple pages, like cover page, things like that. You can zip past. But information wise, yeah, it's 4 or 5 pages of genuine good information that's going to help you. One thing I've noticed on that note, compared to other estimates I've seen from other companies, um, we itemize every product that we put for roof replacement specifically.
Mm,
We literally put in there the name of the product, the type it is. So like you'll know that it's GAF Weather Watch Ice and Water Shield. It's right on there. So if someone, brother, cousin, whoever says, "Oh, did you get that Ice and Water Shield?" You may not know that if I just put GAF Weather Watch. You know, I spell it out so it's got the product name, the brand, and the common name. So it's really helpful to homeowners that don't deal in this industry because nobody really does.
yeah,
It's
you
us.
do a
That's
roof
why,
every 20, 30 years or something.
right?
You're not going to remember that.
You call us for that reason. So when we have all those itemized list of products and services as well, you can feel more comfortable as exactly what you're getting. Because there's been plenty of bids I've seen that some people still do the handwritten. I'm not going to tell them not to because it makes my job a little easier. But if you do a handwritten bid, you may get to, yeah, we're going to put Ice and Water Shield on there. Well, here's the thing: Ice and Water Shield doesn't necessarily go where you think it's going.
Mm,
So when we put Ice and Water Shield on there, on my actual estimates, it will say Ice and Water Shield in the valleys, eaves, rakes, around penetrations. It'll tell you exactly where it's going. So when you look at another person's bid, it just says Ice and Water Shield. Well, no, they're doing that too. Are they though? You know what I mean? They're probably going to put it only where they're required, which is only in the valleys. So we're going to put it to make sure you have maximum level of protection because who cares how much you spend or who you go with if at the end of the day it doesn't work?
yeah.
You know what I mean? We want it to work correctly. We want it to be the last thing you have to worry about.
Brad, are there any aspects of the inspection and or the sales process that you feel like we've not yet discussed?
Not really. I would say the last thing, just for me as a career salesman, so to speak, it's going to sound weird and don't react after you hear it, but it's okay to say no. You're not hurting anyone's feelings. It's I'm not for everybody. We're not for everybody. The one thing I would say is that a lot of customers have a hard time telling someone who's sitting right in front of them, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to go with you." It's okay to do that. If you genuinely feel that way, you're not going to hurt my feelings. What I've seen is a lot of people they say, "Oh, I'll get back to you," when they really want to tell you, "No, thank you." And then all it really ends up happening is I'm going to keep calling. I'm going to follow up because that's my job.
Yep.
So if you genuinely don't think I'm going to be the right fit for you, you're not hurting my feelings. I can speak for Keith in that vein as well, and Aaron most likely as well. All you're really doing is shortening the process after I leave. So say that it's okay. Obviously, I would like you to say yes, and if there is something that you need me to do or say to get you to say yes, yeah, bring that up. That's why I'm there. Everything when I'm right in front of you is the best time to hash out all the details, get out all the concerns, any questions you have. We're really trying to make it a seamless process so that you can, again, feel comfortable with your choice. What I found most often than not is once I leave, I've been doing this a long time, so I get a little bug in the back of my brain that says, "Well, I'll probably never hear from them." But I can't make that decision until you tell me
Yep.
I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to do is bother you after I've just spent an hour and a half, whatever, making you know that I'm a good person and that you'd make the right choice if you did choose me. Last thing I want to do is erase those good feelings. And by erasing those good feelings is going to be me calling your phone, sending you emails. You know what I mean? It's okay to say no. That's what I do, generally tell people. And I've had some people where they were very obviously didn't want to go with me for whatever reason. There's a personal difference. I don't know. And I've been able to look them in the eye and be like, it's okay to say no. Is it a no? And I'm like, yeah, it's a no. So that's fine with me. I totally get it. Hey, if you need anything else in the future, I'm always willing to come back. This is not the end of our relationship. If you want me to come back, by all means, give me a call.
Yeah, and one
I,
of the benefits of what we do is that we don't just handle roofing. We'll do siding, windows,
exactly.
doors, decks, porches, gutters, gutter guards.
Yep.
Um, one of the things that I, as a homeowner, would want to know is, let's say I sign with you. Am I at that point? Do you just move on and to never be seen again? Or what happens between the time that I've signed the contract and I'm waiting for the date that's been scheduled for the work to be done? Are you still an advocate for me at that point, and a resource, or am I passed off to somebody else at that point?
I'm still involved. Absolutely. To answer the question very directly, I'm still involved. However, we do compartmentalize. So I'm not going to be ordering products. I'm not going to be organizing the crew, scheduling the install. That's not what I do. Someone else does that. Just like I wouldn't expect that person to go do my job on the front end.
Sure.
That being said, I am always available. You will never lose me. I'll give you my card before I leave. My direct cell line is on there, so you don't even have to go through the office. You can call me directly. And what that means is that if you do have a question, if you have a concern, if you literally just want to check when the install date is, if things get moved. I mean, we talked earlier in the episode about all the snow and the weather we've had. A lot of people these past 2 months have been moved because there's literally no way we can do the project with the snow and the ice and everything.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of phone calls like that, and it's just a general concern. Trust me, you are not bothering me. It's part of what I do, and I love hearing from people after it might have been a few weeks where I haven't seen them or been in contact directly. But what I do is I make sure that you're going to get an answer. It may not be right away because there are a lot of moving parts in this company, and I may have to go get it and then wait for a response, but I'm going to stay on top of it. One thing I try and pride myself on personally is that I never just get rid of people. I never just say, well, I'm done. I want my paycheck. Bye. I think that's an evil thing to do, and I just don't do it. But I've had several people over the almost 5 years that I've been here that will do a small project, and then they'll call me back in 6 months. Hey, I had a really good experience. Can we talk about this other thing and this other thing and this other thing? I've gotten to the point where I start to know people's dogs, where it's like we do 3 or 4 projects together, and I'm like, oh, I remember. I may not remember their name. Don't follow me for that. But I remember they have this massive, big white dog that, tries to take your knees out.
Yep.
And the dog sometimes remembers me, like walks right up and just sits down and waits to be petted. So you really, this whole industry should be about building relationships and building trust. And I think a lot of the, not necessarily our generation, but I think the generation before us, I think they put a lot of faith into that about, I want to find someone where I don't have to go look for other people for other things. And the amount of people that when I'm done, even like in the middle of the process, hey, what else do you guys do?
Yeah.
They will always ask that question because I might be there for the roof and they're thinking, man, I got to go find somebody to build this deck next year. My windows are getting old. I got to find somebody for that. But if they find out we do that stuff, which we do, they have less looking. And if they have a really good experience with us on the roof, then they know they're going to have a really good experience with the other projects. But yeah, I don't disappear. I know I'm very long-winded.
No, you're fine. I
don't disappear at all. I'm always here. Email, phone, text, doesn't matter to me. A lot of times people will send me emails at 11:30 at night. Obviously, I'm not going to respond. Wake up in the morning, I see, okay, yeah, they just want an update on that. And I send them a quick response. So it happens quite a bit. But again, I'm not disappearing. I'm always here.
All right, Brad, if one of our listeners wanted to get in touch with you or any one of our exterior specialists, what's the best way for them to do that?
The main office line is 302-664-1700. And then I'll get you directly to our main office. And then again, if you want to talk to me directly, just listen to the prompts and then call me directly. And if you want to go online, which a lot of people are doing, it's just askproexteriors.com.
I will also put Brad's contact information, his email address, and I can put his cell phone in the video description of this episode as well. So if you want to get in touch with him, Brad, thank you. This episode really could not have been done without your expertise. Appreciate your time today. Audience, Brad is a big Philadelphia Eagles fan. So even if you just want to drop him an email congratulating him on the Super Bowl victory. I know, Brad, you had a lot to do with the victory, correct?
Yeah. Integral part.
Yeah. All right, Brad. Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. See you later.
That's all we have for you today on the You Ask the Pros Answer podcast. Hey, would you please help us get the word out about the show? If you are watching on YouTube, the simplest way is to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're on Apple Podcasts, would you please leave us a 5-star review or just simply tell a friend? Before we go, we want to hear from you. What are some questions you have related to exterior home remodeling? Maybe the process involved, the options that are out there. You can send your questions to info@askproexteriors.com and in the subject, simply put, You Ask. If you are facing an upcoming home project, we hope this episode has empowered you to tackle it with confidence. Remember, knowledge is power, and a little bit of research can go a long way. Until next time, happy homeowning. The You Ask the Pros Answer podcast is produced in-house by the Pro Exteriors team. Pro Exteriors is the exterior contracting division of Empire Construction Group, LLC. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. For more answers to your questions, please subscribe to this channel and podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Do you have an upcoming home remodeling project? Find more answers to your questions at askproexteriors.com.